All right, guys. Super honored to be joined by our next guest, the latest recipient of the Forrest Griffin Community Award for his outstanding work, of course, in the community. But he is really the people's champ. He joins us today to give us an update on his big return and what's next. The one, the only, Beneil Dariush. Hey, man, welcome back to Submission Radio, dude. Good to have you on the show.
Yeah, appreciate it, brother. Thanks for having me.
The pleasure's all mine, man. And the last I saw during International Fight Week, you were talking a little bit about injuries and how you delayed getting into the octagon. Break that down for me, man. What's going on and how's that return looking to the octagon? Last I checked, you're on your way back in there and people want to see Beneil back in their lives.
Yeah, so started training again before summer, I would say around like March, April, started like really picking it up. And then my knee was bothering me and it was just weird. At first, it was a little bit painful and then it started locking. And I've had a torn meniscus for a long time, but it never was an issue. I've been able to train and do whatever I wanted with it. So went back in. They're like, yeah, it's the meniscus basically, and it's I tried to go the physical therapy route, and it's improved quite a bit. I've tried the whole PRP, all that stuff, and I'm able to train to somewhat. But if I pick it up and train a lot, it will lock up, or if not during my training, it'll lock up after my training once the muscles are all relaxed. So it's still kind of giving me a problem, and it's stressing me out. If I go into a camp like this, it's not an ideal situation. So I've been trying to get some doctor's appointments, see what we can do. Because I've heard if you can just shave it, it's instant. Like you can just get back into training right away, which is ideal. But it just depends on the tear too. Not all tears are the same, and if it's not the ideal tear, I would have to do a repair, and that takes like 6 months to come back. So I would probably just skip the repair and maybe possibly remove the meniscus. So that way, removing the meniscus will give you issues later on in life, but at least I'll get to finish. I get to fight sooner.
Dude, that's crazy. You know, my partner, she plays netball and she had the same problem. And went in there and they did the keyhole thing where they had to fix it up. But she was telling me how her knee locked up and it's like a wild feeling. She was saying it's pretty crazy. So you don't want to go into a fight camp like that. I wonder, man, like before you found that out with your knee, how were you feeling physically? Because I remember last time we spoke, you wanted to take some time to sort of heal your head a little bit, get back in the game. Were you feeling pretty good before this whole knee thing sort of happened?
I was starting to feel really good. Yeah, I was starting to do a lot of rounds and get back to the routine, and being in routine is my favorite. I love just being able to wake up, knowing I have my routine for training set, and everything else kind of falls into place once that happens. Training is in terms of schedule, it's like the center, of my life. If training's on point, everything else is going to get taken care of. I'll wake up, take care of my kids before and after training, but it's all revolving around my work. So I do miss training.
Yeah, so how do you manage that now, man? Like how do you look after your kids? You just
So
haven't seen them
morning
in
time,
years.
no. Morning time, I'll wake up either before them or with them, and I'll go jump in the ice bath. I'll do some get out of the ice bath. I'll do some physical therapy. They think me jumping in the ice bath is the funniest thing, so they'll follow me in the garage and they'll just laugh at me while I try to get in there. Then I'll get out. I'll do some PT exercises and I'll do some red light therapy, and then I'll go training. Fortunately, I have a new gym, way bigger, and my kids love it. It's actually all the parents love it. They bring their kids, and all the kids just play while I get to train, which is perfect because as soon as I'm done training, I can go back to being dad.
Dude, I was gonna say, like, I saw some footage from your gym. You're looking real healthy, real trim, and I think this time away, you got a great tan going. So I think this time away is giving you a bit of a perspective. I remember I read somewhere online that initially, before I guess this whole knee thing happened, there was some rumors of you coming back against Benoit Saint Denis, potentially in Paris. Just want to sort of circle back. Was that supposed to be your fight if everything was all good for your knee initially before you
So
sort of had to take the extra time off?
if they offered it to me, I would have obviously said yes. I would have said yes instantly. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to. So yeah, I didn't get to have that fight. So I'm sure if I was healthy, they would have sent that one. I know before that they were talking about Jalen Turner and same situation.
I got you. Well, it's interesting though because while you're taking your time and much needed rest and getting your knee right, there's a lot of stuff happening in the lightweight division. So you're going to have a lot of interesting matchups. Just the other day, they announced Dan Hooker and Gamrot for UFC 305. So I'm super excited to see Dan getting back in there in a big pivotal fight. What was your reaction when you saw that yesterday? And what do you actually think of that fight?
For Dan to win, I think he needs to obviously work a lot on his takedown defense, but also his ability to get up. And then he needs to utilize his knees, uppercuts, and constantly threatening danger when someone's trying to take you down.
I mean, I reckon you'll be watching that one closely. It's going to be an interesting one in Perth. I wonder, from your perspective, which guy would you be more excited about fighting? Obviously, if Dan gets this win against Gamrot, he's back in the mix. Maybe he's someone who excites you. Obviously, Michael Chandler's floating around. He said apparently he got a title. They mentioned a title shot to him, but who knows what's going to happen with Conor McGregor. Dustin Poirier is looking for a fight again. You've even got Paddy Pimblett and Bobby Green, which I know maybe isn't as challenging as potentially some of the other guys that you'd like, but a fun fight, potentially a winner of that. Who do you think sort of stands out to you if you had to pick the ideal opponent to return against after this knee gets better?
So if Dan wins, I think that fight makes a lot of sense, right? Because Gamma and I have already fought. But at the same time, I know Dan. He doesn't like to fight guys behind him. So it's going to be hard to get a fight with him if he wins the fight. Dustin Poirier for me, is like an impossible fight for whatever reason. He never says yes. Shoot, that doesn't leave me with a whole lot of choices. I think I'm gonna get somebody in the top 10. I just don't know who. It could be Morcano. It could be somebody else. The problem is the landscape changes so much in just a couple of months. These guys are all fighting, and then who knows what's gonna happen? Who I'm gonna end up fighting? But like fights like Michael Chandler, obviously I welcome it. Anybody else, I welcome all these fights, no problem.
Dude, yeah, it's crazy. The division is kind of in a weird spot because obviously Islam needs people to fight as well. He's got that deal with the UFC where he's got to do a certain amount of pay-per-views. I guess it's based on a certain revenue stream that they've got going, so they need opponents for him. I wonder, what did you think when you saw Chandler say that that's a potential offer that he got, and if Conor McGregor's not ready, he might have to take it if Conor McGregor doesn't heal up in time? What was your reaction when you saw that?
Chandler's coming off of a loss. I don't think they're going to put a guy coming off of a loss into a title shot. I think he's just saying these things to get people's attention and piss off some people. That's what I think he's doing. But I mean, if they did give him that shot, then geez, man, that's impressive. Yeah, but that being said, I think he's really just trying to get into people's heads, possibly trying to make Conor more motivated to fight. I don't know, but I just don't see him fighting Makhachev, and if he does fight Makhachev, I don't really see him having a chance unless he ends up winning in the first round.
Right, yeah, take us into that, man. You don't, with the skill sets that Chandler brings in there, you don't really see it going long.
Chandler, with his style and his build, he just doesn't seem to be a 5-round fighter anymore. I know he's done 5-round fights before, but like if you watch him right now, he's tired in the second. He's starting to struggle in the second. So to go into the third and then look across from your opponent and see him, he's still there and he's still fighting. I think that's something he's going to struggle with a lot. So I think 3 rounds are the most ideal thing for Dan Hooker. So I'm sorry, not Dan Hooker, for Michael Chandler.
Do you think this Conor McGregor fight happens? Like if you were, I know you're not a betting man, but if you had to predict it, do you think it actually happens?
I think so. I think it's the fight that kind of makes sense. It's great. It's a great fight for Conor because stylistically, Chandler fits into that style, and Chandler's gonna wait because it's Conor McGregor. Everybody wants that fight. So I think the fight will happen. I think it could possibly be this year or early next year. That I can't tell you for sure, but I think the fight happens in my opinion.
It's an interesting one though, right, man? Because I think it's going to be funny for me to say, but I think you and Conor McGregor have something in common. There, I said it. And it's just the fact that you guys are veterans and some of the best to do it in the game. But what people don't understand is behind the scenes, and we saw it a little bit in his documentary, you know, you guys, especially as the longer your career goes on, deal with all these injuries that people don't realize and these setbacks that people don't realize. From your perspective, like when you saw like Conor had this injury with his toe, did you kind of understand it because of the things that you've experienced behind the scenes that people don't realize when it comes to getting your body ready, and the processes, how they change as you go on through your career, especially at this point in the UFC?
So it's actually funny you mentioned that. I had the same exact injury Connor had. Uh, the only difference was where my toe broke was where the foot connects. So
Oh,
it broke. Yeah, I mean it was like the foot and the toe, pinky toe, and then one more toe broke just from a push kick. I'm sure Connor's situation was the same thing. He threw a push kick and hit an elbow, and that's kind of how it happened if I had to guess. But the pain wasn't the toe. Like if people told me, "Hey, cut the toe off," I would have cut the toe off. The problem was the all the inflammation went into my foot, and I literally couldn't walk. So if I can't walk, I can't fight, I can't make weight, I can't do anything. But the real issue was my toe. I just couldn't couldn't walk on my foot.
was that, when was that? Was that leading into a fight, or was that just in between training camp?
It was actually pretty rough. I was supposed to fight Jakar close. I don't remember the exact year,
Yeah.
but I had to pull out,
Oh,
and then Jakar talked a lot of smack to me, and I, obviously tried to apologize because I didn't make it to the fight, but he talked a lot of smack, and then I fought somebody else. I don't remember who I fought, and then I ended up fighting with him again. So that was kind of how that went, and then obviously the Jakar fight kind of went my way, and I feel bad for the guy, but unfortunately that replay doesn't stop. It just keeps going.
dude, you were doing the pinky toe before, but the pinky toe was cool. You're like the Seinfeld,
Yeah.
you know, the pinky toe. It's the most important one. So let's just quickly, before we get off Islam, I just want to quickly get your thoughts. Obviously, I think it's probably going to be Arman. I think they've changed his suspension around, so I think he can still return on that October date. I think they've reduced it to 6 months if he does some kind of service or something. How do you think that rematch goes? Do you think that Arman is a guy that can potentially shock everyone and beat Islam? And I also want to get your thoughts on this version of Islam that we're seeing, the one that fought Dustin Poirier last time. We saw a few chinks in the armor in that Poirier fight. Obviously, extreme toughness from Islam. He was able to sustain and finish Poirier. There were a couple of openings there. How do you think that rematch goes against Arman?
So the openings I saw in Makachev were the same ones I saw when he fought Volkanovski. You know, he does slow down quite a bit, and then and that could be a big factor. But the problem is, I think Arman Sarukian also slows down, and he slows down more. And if I think Islam's best weapons are his takedown defense and his patience. So I think he's a better fighter economically speaking than Sarukian, and I think that's going to be the key in the fight. I think the fight's going to go into the latter rounds, and that's going to be what helps Makachev. I think he's going to win the fight decision most likely or finish at the end. But I think for Armand, his best chances are early. He's an explosive guy. He can come out early. He can get possibly get a KO or a submission early on. But it's going to be hard for him to win a 5-round fight, in my opinion.
All right, guys, before we continue in the interview, I have a sponsorship announcement that you're going to want to hear, and that is with our friends from Manscaped, who are offering you 20% off and free shipping right now with the code word submission. Listen to me. I know Submission Radio has you sorted when it comes to your MMA coverage, but these guys have you sorted when it comes to your bowl coverage. The Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra is an absolute game changer. It comes with 2 interchangeable skin-safe blade heads, so you can choose between a precise trim or a smooth finish. And did I mention that it is waterproof? Yes, you can trim in the shower and avoid making a mess everywhere. It's perfect for those of us who appreciate efficiency. And let's talk about the beard hedger just quickly. Whether you're going for a neat stubble or a full-on lumberjack look, this trimmer has you covered. It features a titanium-coated stainless steel T-blade and 20 length options. You can achieve any style you want with just a twist of the zoom wheel. The Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra always ensures that you're looking your best below the waist, while the beard hedger takes care of everything else. 20% off and code word submission now, plus free shipping. Now back to the program. Do you reckon the fact that he's already been in there with Islam and kind of felt some of those different things that people haven't had a chance to really experience in person before sort of gives him a little advantage as he goes for part two?
I think it does give him an advantage, but also there's one problem with it. I think he also has to remember, like, man, this guy, I had weaknesses in these places, and this guy was able to take advantage of them. So he has to think about that as well. So that's kind of the fight. Is being reminded of your weaknesses and also being reminded of what you did well. And depending on the type of fighter you are, you'll be like, well, man, I remember what I did good. I'm just gonna do more of that, right?
Mm.
But other fighters will say, I was missing this, missing this, missing this, so I need to add on to those things. It's going to be interesting who makes the bigger adjustments because the fight was so close last time, and I think the fight will be close again. And I think it's the energy conservation of Makachev that's going to win him the fight.
Mm. I know I mentioned just before, before we finish up talking about the division, I know I mentioned just before this Paddy Pimblett Bobby Green fight. And I saw an interview with Paddy where he was sort of talking about that, this could be the last fight on his contract and he could potentially go somewhere else because there's a lot of money to be made outside of the organization. I just wonder, like, obviously the UFC, he's one of those fighters where the UFC took a different route where it's like, hey, let's match this guy up with all sorts of different fighters, maybe towards the lower end of the rankings because he draws, and we don't need him to be fighting guys at the top straight away. Sort of the Sean O'Malley approach. Let's take our time with him. But ultimately,
Yeah.
he never sort of made it into the rankings to fight someone like yourself. I wonder, like, if this is his last fight, like, let's say he does get this win over Bobby Green, what do you sort of think this run in the UFC was like for Paddy?
Yeah, so there's a lot right there. So let's just talk about for me personally, like you said, I want to fight the best guys, but there's like this new idea going on in MMA. Get your big name out there, become what I guess you would call an influencer. Become an influencer, then you have the ability to make money anywhere, not just the UFC. Not sometimes you don't even have to fight, right?
Mm.
So Patty's definitely done that well. I don't know if that was his goal, but obviously he's clearly gotten a lot of attention and he's got a lot of followers. That being said, that gives him a lot of leverage. A lot of leverage as far as negotiations. If he ends up winning this fight, I'm sure the UFC will work with him and they're going to match him. But if not, he can also go anywhere else. That being said, if he ends up leaving, um, you gotta give him credit. Like if he wins all his fights and leaves, that's pretty amazing. I'm trying to think some like old school guys that came into the UFC that did that. I can't really think of anybody who came into the UFC, won all their fights, and then just kind of bailed.
GSP was a good
But
one because he came back, won the middleweight belt. He was like, "Yeah, I'll
that,
defend it," and then he's like, "See you guys later."
yeah, that's as close as it gets. But yeah, even it's not really the same because if he comes back, he'd be fighting for the UFC. So uh, it'd be something new. Honestly, if this guy does that, it'll be something new.
Yeah, well, the other thing is, man, it's nice to see guys make a bit of money in their careers as well and find new sort of revenue streams to do that. I got to ask as well, speaking of careers, you were over in International Fight Week. Congratulations on your award, man. The work that you do in the community. I always see on your Instagram, there's various programs through your gym where, people could come in and connect, and it's really, really cool. But for you and from your perspective, what were a couple of moments that stood out for you backstage, like mixing it up with some of the legends? Did you meet anyone that you've always wanted to meet? Did you speak to anyone you've always wanted to speak to? And what are those conversations that really stand out to you during that sort
I
of?
didn't really get a chance to speak with anybody too much because it was so busy and everybody has their families there. But it was really cool for me to see Frankie Edgar get the award because Frankie's a guy I looked up to. He was one of my favorite fighters. His trilogy with Gray Maynard for me was it was amazing. He was also one of the first guys I saw fight. Like his first fight, it was against something maybe Tyson. I want to say I don't remember he was, but it was such an incredible fight back then. I fell in love with the style, and then when he had the trilogies, the dude became pretty much my favorite fighter. Just so to see him get the award. That was cool. And then the other cool part was Shogun was there and Vanderlei was there. We're all from
Mm.
the same gym, right? So three guys from basically Kings or Shoot Box or from that lineage to be able to get awards was cool. And finally, at one point, I saw it was like this: Vanderlei is sitting here, Shogun's here, Chael's right here in the middle, and I'm behind them all. And I just thought to myself, bro, 10 years ago, if this situation was happening, I don't think Chael would be getting out of this room alive. But look at them now, like hanging out, speaking to each other, and uh, being gentlemen. That was probably the coolest part to see. Everybody's moved on from the drama from previous.
I love that. And imagine it's you just like, all right, everybody, Chel's there. You like get your award and like hit Chel in the head. This is
Yeah.
our chance to get him back now. It was great, dude.
I,
Yeah, I gotta say that it must have been interesting for you because you always thought about fighting as obviously as a professional athlete and becoming the world champion. That's always been your focus. But I bet you never thought that you'd also be making this kind of difference and getting these awards for these things, like making a difference in the community like this, and also sort of impacting people's lives with nothing to do with fighting, really. You know what I mean?
yeah, it's really strange to be honest with you. It was never a goal of mine, but it slowly crept in, and now it's something I'm going to do after fighting. It's something I'm going to do for the rest of my life. It's crazy to think about. Uh, it's going to take a place almost like fighting because it's going to be like a job for me eventually. I've mentioned this. I would like to be missionary, do mission works as much as possible. I'd like to be a coach as well eventually, but those are two things, and then work in my community. So to be in this position, if you told 20-year-old me that's what would happen, I would have said you're crazy. All I care about is fighting. Even the influencer stuff, I'd be like, no, I'm good. I don't need that. Just let two go in, one comes out. Kind of was my mindset the whole time.
I love it because your wife is like, Beneil, go take out the rubbish. And you're like, you're talking to Beneil Dariush, the Forrest Griffin Community Award recipient. I ain't doing that. She's like, I don't care. Take it out anyway.
I should try that actually. Now that you mention it, my wife would. That would that wouldn't work too well
Yeah, yeah,
though,
you have a
because she's
big
pregnant.
indent of the award on your head, and you're like, sorry, guys, I've got a new injury. As we wrap up, dude, what is the timeline? So, you want to try out a couple of methods for your knee. Ideally, are we ruling 2024 out? Are you still thinking end of 2024 ideally?
So this doctor's appointment, if they let me do a scope when I can come back in within a couple of weeks to training, I can be back by the end of the year. So that's really it. I just have to make sure the meniscus damage, the tear is in a way where I can get a what they call a shave. The surgery, they shave the meniscus, and I could do that. But if I have to sew it, then that's going to be, I have to think about it. Do I just keep doing PT as I'm doing and strengthen the leg and then go fight? Um, that's kind of my direction. Or the final option is just take the thing out.
Mm. Cut the leg off. Just roll up with one leg. Show everybody how
Yeah,
it's
if
done.
you take out the meniscus, or yeah, if you take out the meniscus, you basically you when you get older, you're gonna have a lot of pain in your knee. So it's like, worry about today, forget about
Exactly. The
tomorrow.
fans like, Beneil, I don't care about later, man. We want to see you back in the octagon in 2024 now, man. Let us know how it goes. We'll get you back on the show in the next couple of months, get an update. As we wrap up, though, congratulations on your gym. What are a couple of things people can check out at the gym? Or just tell us a little bit about where it's located and how. Do you guys open it up to people that are traveling through Anaheim that just want to pop by for a
Yeah,
training session? Give us a little
I, I
lowdown.
get I get guys from Australia come in all the time. I've got a
I'm
couple of
sorry
friends
about
from
that.
there, but
Just drunk people.
yeah,
Oi,
bro.
oi, mate, let us
Actually,
in.
now that you mention it, Rob came in, Whitaker came in, but he came to my old gym, and I was telling him about this new place. So next time he comes in, I got to show him the new place. But yeah, it's open to the public. I actually teach classes in the mornings, and that one's open to the public. I try to work with all levels. I work with beginners, jujitsu guys, like high level jujitsu guys, and then I work also with MMA guys. I try to get in a little bit of everything. That way, it forces me to stay active in all parts of the game. I have to be good at the basics for the beginners. I have to be able to wrestle. If the wrestlers come in, I have to be good at jiu-jitsu because I got a ton of good jiu-jitsu guys, and then I got my MMA guys that I got to build. So it's a really cool thing right now with the new gym. I'm able to train a lot and be be in a position where I could guide a lot of people into good positions. I think you're going to see a lot of good names come out of my gym very soon.
Dude, that's unreal, man. And you know, when you teach stuff, it's just another level of learning, right? Like you understand it even better. So I can't wait to see what happens there. Guys, make sure to follow Beneil on social media. Visit his gym. Can't wait to see you back in there. We'll get you back on here for an update soon. But congratulations on your award and congratulations on all the stuff that you've been doing, man. It's been amazing.
Appreciate it, brother. Thank you for having me.